What if I told you that the moment after intimacy is when a man truly decides what you mean to him? It's not during the chemistry, the laughter, or even the closeness. It's in what you do after. Because while most women rush to secure the connection, the ones men never forget do something completely different. And that's exactly what makes him come back. After intimacy, a man's instincts often shift into introspection, and how a woman responds in that subtle window can shape the entire future of the connection. When a woman becomes overly available, too reassuring, or begins seeking constant validation, it signals to the man, sometimes unconsciously, that she's already emotionally invested and possibly attaching her self-worth to the experience. But when a woman instead leans into emotional detachment, not coldness, not distance, but calm independence, it immediately communicates something very different. It sends the message that she values herself regardless of what just happened. She doesn't need constant reassurance because she already knows her worth. That level of emotional stability is rare, and to a man who may be sorting through his own feelings or fears of commitment, it becomes magnetic. When she doesn't chase after him with messages or try to lock him into promises or labels right away, she allows the connection to breathe. This breathing room is where the man begins to wonder about her. He thinks about her confidence, her ease, her lack of anxiety around the outcome. That mystery, that unspoken power, makes him come back to her, not because she begged for it, but because she made him want to. Emotional detachment doesn't mean she doesn't care. It means she isn't desperate for reciprocation. It means she enjoyed the experience, but she's not letting it define her emotional world. And that tells the man, this woman isn't ruled by intimacy. She's grounded in her own sense of value. The moment she starts centering her energy around herself, her life, her goals, even after a vulnerable moment, it flips a switch in the male psyche. He realizes she is someone who won't collapse her life into his. She's someone who lives for herself and simply shared a moment with him. That's powerful, because most men are used to women shifting their emotional energy toward them after sex, making them the center. But when a woman doesn't do that, when she calmly continues with her life, her work, her passions, it sparks something different. He doesn't feel chased. He feels curious. And curiosity, for men, is the beginning of emotional investment. This emotional detachment also shows emotional maturity. It tells him she's experienced enough to know not every intimate moment means a fairy tale, but she's open to seeing where things go. That balance between openness and self-respect is rare, and it's what makes her unforgettable. Most importantly, she doesn't need to do anything to earn his affection, because her non-reaction already shows him that she's not placing her value on his next move. That relaxed energy is addictive. It's not about playing games, it's about playing yourself fully and authentically. She's not pretending she doesn't care, she's simply grounded in the truth that if he's the right one, he'll naturally gravitate back without her having to pull. That's what makes men return. Not the follow-ups, not the validation loops, but the silent signal that she'll be just fine with or without him. There's something undeniably attractive about a woman who isn't in a rush to explain herself, especially after intimacy. In a world where many feel the pressure to over-communicate, to ask where is this going, or to anxiously check if they're still on the same page, a woman who allows silence to exist comfortably is a breath of fresh air. That quiet confidence speaks volumes without her ever having to say a word. It's in the way she doesn't chase, doesn't panic, doesn't send a string of messages trying to decode the situation. She knows what she felt. and she trusts that if the connection is real, it will speak for itself. This kind of inner peace is rare, and it immediately sets her apart. Men don't often find themselves sitting across from someone who is able to hold emotional space without trying to control or steer it. When she doesn't fill the air with nervous energy or demand instant answers, it doesn't read as disinterest, it reads as strength. He feels it. He notices that she's present but not clingy. She's emotionally available but not dependent. That delicate balance creates a sense of mystery, and mystery triggers pursuit. He starts to ask himself why she's so composed, what she's thinking, what she's feeling. And just like that, she's living in his mind, not because she forced her way in, but because she walked away without fear. A woman who carries herself with calm, post-intimacy, exudes emotional intelligence. She's not emotionally flooding the situation. She's not overanalyzing every little detail. She's not turning a beautiful moment into a negotiation. Instead, she's simply letting it be what it was. That restraint is powerful, and it builds a foundation of respect. Men sense when someone needs constant affirmation, and while it may feel good in the short term to be needed, it rarely holds long-term value. What truly holds a man's attention is a woman who lets him lean in at his own pace, because she's not trying to force anything. She's open to more, but not dependent on it. That calm creates space for his feelings to develop naturally. It allows him the room to think about her without her always being in his face or inbox. It gives him the time to miss her, and that space becomes emotionally valuable real estate because it builds tension in the right way. The more he thinks about how she didn't cling, how she seemed completely content with herself, the more he wants to reconnect. He realizes she's not like everyone else. She's not coming from a place of lack. She's coming from a place of wholeness. And when a man senses that a woman doesn't need him to feel good about herself, he starts to want her even more, because her energy feels safe, not demanding, peaceful, not performative. That confidence in silence doesn't just attract, it holds his attention long after the moment is over. There's a powerful energy in a woman who can be warm, affectionate, and emotionally connected without falling into the trap of neediness. After intimacy, it's natural for emotions to stir, for the heart to feel more open and vulnerable. But the women who stand out are the ones who know how to stay emotionally balanced. They don't shut down or go cold, but they also don't let the moment consume them. Their energy remains steady, soft but grounded. That mix is magnetic. It leaves a man feeling safe in her presence, but also curious. He senses that her affection isn't transactional, and that's rare. She isn't being loving because she needs reassurance or because she's hoping to secure his commitment. She's that way because it's who she is, and because she chooses to be in the moment, without trying to control the next one. This kind of woman doesn't try to manipulate with affection, nor does she withhold it out of fear. She gives from a place of wholeness. Her emotional generosity is paired with emotional independence. She may express that she enjoys the experience, she may show care, but she never wraps her identity around that connection. And that calm confidence makes a man lean in. She's able to make him feel desired without making him feel trapped. There's a gentle strength in the way she treats him, with warmth while still holding her own center. That strength is what creates the longing. Most men expect one of two things after intimacy: either a rush of emotional neediness or a sudden withdrawal. But when he experiences a woman who simply continues to be herself, loving but not dependent, it shifts the entire dynamic. She becomes someone he enjoys being around, not just physically, but emotionally. She doesn't demand anything. She doesn't ask for a timeline. She just radiates ease. That ease is what makes him want to return to her. because it feels good to be near someone who's emotionally secure. She shows affection in a way that feels free, not forced. He doesn't feel like he's being pulled into something. He feels like he's being drawn towards something he actually wants. And over time, that warm, non-clingy presence creates an emotional imprint. He remembers how she made him feel, not pressured, not needed, but genuinely appreciated. And because she didn't try to use her affection to get something from him, he starts to associate her with peace, with comfort, with safety. That emotional association is what makes a man miss her. He doesn't miss her because she overwhelmed him with attention. He misses her because she made him feel like he could be close without being smothered. She gave him space while still giving him love. She didn't need him to validate her, and yet she made him feel valued. That balance is unforgettable. It creates the kind of emotional chemistry that lingers long after the moment has passed. When a woman maintains her standards after intimacy, it sends a message that resonates far deeper than any words ever could. Most men unconsciously observe how a woman behaves once that physical connection has been made, not to judge her, but to understand her emotional foundation. When a woman continues to uphold the same boundaries, the same values, the same expectations that she had before sex, it tells him that her identity and self-worth are not tied to that moment. And that consistency is rare and powerful. It doesn't come from fear or strategy. It comes from inner clarity. She knows who she is, and no matter how close they become, she isn't about to lower her standards just to keep him interested. That self-assurance instantly earns respect because it communicates that her heart and body are sacred and not a tool for approval. This behavior creates emotional security in the connection. It lets the man know that while she may have shared an intimate moment, she hasn't suddenly become a different version of herself. She's not going to compromise her values for the sake of pleasing him or ensuring he sticks around. In fact, it's this refusal to change her standards that makes him want to stay. It's human nature. People are drawn to what they respect. And when a man sees that a woman respects herself even more after getting close, he begins to view her as someone with real emotional strength. She's not trying to win him over anymore. She's showing him that he needs to rise to her level if he wants to stay. She doesn't suddenly become more tolerant of bad behavior. She doesn't accept last-minute plans or tolerate inconsistent communication just because they've been intimate. She doesn't try to appear chill just to be more likable. She's exactly who she was before, which reminds him that she's not operating from scarcity. That mindset sets the tone for the entire relationship dynamic moving forward. It places her in a position of value, not because she's playing games or testing him, but because she honors herself. A man can feel the difference between someone who's performing confidence and someone who truly lives it. The woman who keeps her standards is the latter. She might still be loving, still be open, but she's not afraid to walk away if what she's receiving doesn't align with what she expects. That quiet but firm consistency is what anchors her in his mind, because as much as men may crave excitement, what truly draws them in is the feeling of security wrapped in strength. And when she demonstrates that her sense of self hasn't changed just because they've shared something personal, it tells him she's not there to be conquered. She's there to be partnered with. She's not trying to earn him. She's showing him what it looks like when someone already knows their worth. And in that clarity, he either steps up or he disappears. Either way, she's not shaken. There's a profound difference between giving someone space and emotionally withdrawing, and the woman who understands that difference becomes unforgettable. After intimacy, many women feel the urge to define what just happened or where the relationship is going. That desire is valid, but the way it's expressed can either invite connection or push it away. The women men come back to are the ones who understand that intimacy doesn't have to be followed by pressure. Instead of demanding clarity immediately, they allow space for the man to process. They don't jump to conclusions, seek constant reassurance, or expect declarations of love overnight. They're comfortable with the unknown because they trust their value, and they know that if something is real, it doesn't need to be rushed. This doesn't mean she's passive. She's not suppressing her feelings or pretending she don't care. What she's doing is choosing grace over urgency. She recognizes that people move through emotional intimacy at different speeds, and she allows the man to arrive at his feelings without being cornered. In doing so, she becomes someone he can breathe around. She becomes associated with relief rather than pressure. And in a world full of people trying to force certainty, that kind of emotional breathing room feels like freedom. It doesn't make him take her for granted. It makes him want to come back to her because she represents peace in a chaotic world. When she doesn't give ultimatums, when she doesn't try to fast-track the emotional process, she gives herself the advantage of observation. She watches his behavior. She pays attention to how he follows up, how he treats her without her pushing for more. That calm curiosity allows her to stay in her power. And men can feel that. They sense when a woman isn't emotionally chasing them. It forces them to examine their own feelings because she's not filling in the gaps for them. She's not dragging them into connection. They either show up or they don't. That pressure-free environment creates authenticity. The man knows he's not being manipulated, and he starts to value her even more because everything is voluntary. The space she creates doesn't create distance, it creates longing. He starts to replay the moments they shared, not because she keeps reminding him of them, but because she let him walk away without panic. And in that silence, he begins to miss her warmth, her presence, her calm. Her lack of neediness becomes the reason he wants more, because it tells him she's a woman who loves from a place of choice, not fear. She's not trying to secure him, she's trying to experience something real. That distinction is subtle, but it's everything. It means she doesn't panic when things are uncertain, and that emotional steadiness becomes addictive. He comes back, not because she begged, not because she demanded, but because in a world full of noise, she was the only one quiet enough to hear his real heart. When a man senses that he's being given space, something in him relaxes. His walls come down, his thoughts settle, and he starts to miss her, not out of guilt or pressure, but because he genuinely wants to be near that calm, grounded energy again. She becomes someone he thinks about not just for the physical connection, but for how she made him feel afterward. He remembers that she didn't chase, didn't panic, didn't try to lock him in. She simply trusted herself enough to wait and see what naturally unfolded. That self-trust becomes incredibly attractive. It tells him that she's not afraid to lose something that's not meant for her. And that truth creates gravity. He feels pulled toward her, not pushed. This behavior also gives him the space to lead, which is something most men instinctively desire in relationships. When he's given that freedom, he steps up, if he's truly interested. And that's the beauty of it. A woman who gives space isn't just creating a healthier dynamic, she's also revealing the truth. If a man is serious, he'll show up. If he's not, he'll fade, but in both cases she wins, because she never overextended herself trying to hold on to something that wasn't solid. Her restraint is her protection. Her ability to give space becomes a silent filter. The ones who can't handle it disappear, and the ones who are meant to be there come closer than ever before. It's easy to believe that closeness comes from constant communication or emotional declarations, but the deepest form of closeness is often born in silence, in those quiet moments where someone is allowed to miss you, think about you, and choose you without pressure. That space doesn't create distance, it creates desire. And the woman who knows how to give it becomes unforgettable, not because she demanded his return, but because she inspired it. So when you look at the women men keep coming back to, it's not about how they look, what they say, or even how much they give. It's about how they carry themselves after intimacy. These women hold on to their self-respect. They don't lose themselves in the moment. They stay grounded in their own identity. They're warm, but they're not needy. They're open, but not dependent. They don't beg for validation or chase clarity. They trust that if the connection is meant to grow, it will. And in that calm, confident energy, they become unforgettable. Not because they try to hold on, but because they knew they never had to. The right man doesn't forget the woman who made him feel free while still making him feel seen. She doesn't push him to return. He comes back because he wants to.